Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Action Toon Bros. I'm your host, Ben Sturgeon.
And I'm your host, Matthew Lewis. I was like, we should have came up with some kind of pun names.
True, we could have, but trust me, I already have enough bad puns as it is.
Yeah, I know.
But now, seeing as though it is getting close to the spooky season, aka Halloween, we decided that we're going to do a two-part special Halloween edition of our show.
Yep, that is correct, Ben. This show was brought to us by Ben, because I had heard of it, but I had never watched it before.
Yeah, which really made me excited. Every fall I watch this show at least once because it's really good in my opinion.
Oh.
But to you viewers, we are going to be reviewing in 2 episodes all of Over the Garden Wall.
Yep, we're Over the Garden Wall, a show that aired in 2014.
Yes, 2014.
Very, very wonderful, dark fantasy show.
Yep. Now, I know it's crazy because each episode is only like 10 minutes-ish long.
It's like 15 minutes. Yeah, it's like 15-minute blocks, like Adventure Time and stuff.
Right, it's like half-episode things. However, there is so much to go through with every single episode, which, as you said before, this was technically your first time watching it. I mean, you did tell me you watched the first episode like a while ago.
A long time ago, yeah. Back probably close to like 2014. I watched the first episode alone. I liked it, but I never got around to watching it because so much other things were airing at the same time.
Yeah, so this is kind of like Korra with me, only you only get 10 short episodes.
Yeah. It's very concise and I loved it. I loved every minute. It was really fantastic. And I'll like put on my favorite episodes when we start going through them. But yeah, I had a really fun time watching this.
Yeah, well, let's not keep them waiting. Let's start with the first episode.
Yep.
The Old Grist Mill.
Episode 1.
Yep, we start off with, well, a frog playing the piano.
Yeah.
Singing one of my personal favorite songs, Into the Unknown.
Oh, such a good... Is that a real classic song? I never heard of it before.
No, it's not a classic song.
It's
but
from this? Or
yeah, it's strictly from this.
Okay, yeah.
But, I mean, so I'm going to name drop some of the songs because I really like this soundtrack.
Oh, they're all
as well.
beautiful, yeah.
As the song plays, we get like a montage of a few things.
Yep.
First thing we see is a girl sitting down with her dog, and a bird flies out of the bushes.
Yep.
And they both just turn and look at it.
I was going to say, well, in the middle of your explanation of the episodes, I had saw this and I was like, I saw a bunch of weird, weird, creepy images. Kind of at the end of the series, I rewatched the intro again. I'm not going to explain anything, but I watched it again and I was like, oh, it was really okay.
That's absolutely fine. This is the kind of series you do that with.
Oh yeah.
And the next thing we see after that little thing is we see a wooden cart pulled by 2 giant turkeys with a cat driving it, and the cart is filled with pumpkins.
Yep. We see a circus with a couple of like long stilt men, woman on a trampoline, and like a weird monkey in the middle. It was really fantastic. It was really weird and creepy. The music was fantastic over it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it really is.
The next we see is a number of toys on a shelf. A couple of they all looked very distinct. It's really cool imagery. Mm-hmm. After
that, we get a man in like a nice fancy suit holding a candle.
With a powdered wig looking hair.
Yep, kind of like powdered wig, kind of Victorian look to him. Looking at a portrait of this very beautiful woman, and all of a sudden, out of the corner, you see just a shadow zoom, and he looks all scared and stuff.
Yep.
And then there is an old bedridden person.
Yeah.
Because we don't actually see the face. Just sewing what looks like a blanket, knitting a little bit, and snipping a thread with these very ornate-looking gold bird scissors.
Yep. Then we see 2 young boys playing with a boat in the river. They're wearing very old-school clothing. It's a very cool image. And we also see a woman in what looks like a weird bone, like the catacombs under France. The weird, like...
Yeah, with like all like...
ones. Yeah, the one with all the bones and stuff.
I think actually when it's like a catacombs with bones in it, I think it's actually called an ossuary.
An ossuary? Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Then, after we see that, there's a fish in a raft that's pretty small. Just fishing, you know, as fish do. And then, after we see that... We see, also after that, we see just this silly painted rock with like a silly face on it, and just someone taking it.
Yep.
And then finally we see a man in like a top hat and like kind of okay dress clothes chopping wood while
in the distance,
Yep, in the distance, while a girl is standing by a well looking into the woods. And that's when we get our title card of what the show is called.
And while the music keeps playing, do we hear the sound at the end of the title card in the first episode?
No, the first episode it does not happen.
You don't hear it. Okay. Well, we'll bring that up later.
Yep. But after we do that, we hear if anyone's familiar with this voice actor / actual jazz singer. His name is Jack Jones. Mm-hmm. He was very famous in the 60s. Like, he did Ed Sullivan and, what was the other one? Jack Benny.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, I know. I said, I'm going to drop some names and people are going to be like, what? But we get our narrator saying that somewhere lost in the clouded annals of history, there's a place that few have seen. The place known as the Unknown, where long-forgotten stories are revealed to those who travel the woods. And as that, we get some strange imagery as that's being said. Yep. We just see two kids floating in what looks like floating in water before we get to the woods.
Okay, yeah. In the woods, we see two kids walking alone. Do we learn the first younger kid's name at the first?
Technically, we don't know any of their names until the older one talks.
All right, we see the younger one listing a bunch of names, a bunch of like random words and stuff. Yeah,
just random words like antelope, Guggenheim, Albert, just random things like that.
Yep, and he says, but the absolute worst name for this frog would be, as he's holding a frog, he has a kid with a kettle on his head, upside down kettle on his head.
Yep, it's a kettle.
And a kid who looks like he's like cosplaying a gnome or something.
And we're talking like a garden gnome with like the big pointy hat.
Yep. And a weird like a blue cloak over his shoulders, and the other kid is wearing suspenders and the kettle on his head. Yeah, the little one is. We see the creepy woods are like freaking out the older kid as he tells the younger one Greg to stop.
The younger one is Greg, and of course we only find out their names through their banter. The younger one with the kettle on his head is Greg, while the older one with the hat is Wirt. Which, by the way, Wirt is voiced by Elijah Wood.
Yep, Elijah Wood of goddamn Wilford fame.
That's the one you were going with? I was going to go with the one that everyone knew,
I purposely.
That's good. Keep it fresh.
That show's fantastic. Fresh. That show's like from like 10 years ago, too, I think.
Well, I mean, like...
Oh, yeah.
Anyway. However, the other one, the voice of Greg, Colin Dean, I'm not as familiar with Colin Dean.
Yeah, I had to look it up too, but he's the voice of, I think, Lincoln Loud from the Loud family.
Isn't that that Nickelodeon show?
Yeah.
Okay, so not as unfamous as I thought. Well, yeah, like you said, the forest is freaking them out, and, Greg he's a little kid, so he's, like, being silly, being calm, like, not actually knowing to be afraid, while every little thing is making Wirt very scared.
Yep. I was thinking, did we not learn Wirt's name for like a long time?
No, it was through banter. It was
not at this point. I think we learned like halfway through the episode we hear them finally refer to him as Wirt.
Right. But still, I mean, it's good for them to know. So after getting freaked out, wanting to make like a path with maybe they should have made like a trail in the woods. Yeah. Where Greg's like, hey, like I have candy. Let's make a candy path.
Yep, candy in his pants. He keeps pulling it out of the middle of his pants.
But then through speaking in poetry, we get Wirt finally hardening his resolve to go through.
Yeah, I was gonna say he like takes a minute to just like recite sad poetry to himself while like thinking about how lost they are and how everything's like, oh, we're in trouble. It's really great. And then, like, they hear a random noise, and he's like, what is that, some kind of killer hiding in the woods?
Yeah, like, oddly specific. Like, is that an axe murderer who's waiting for people to come and kill him?
Yeah, that was amazing.
And as Wirt's worrying about that, Greg's just like, to the noise, and starts just walking toward the noise.
Yep. In the woods, they see a man chopping what looks like twigs and humming a song to himself. Mm-hmm. And, is it Wirt or Greg who thinks we should go and talk to him, and Wirt's like, no, wait.
Yep, it starts off with Greg saying we should ask him for help, and Wirt's like, no, he could like blah 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 yada yada, and then as the wood chopper guy walks away, Wirt goes, should we have asked for help? Yeah, and Greg just shrugs.
We see a bluebird come and starts talking to them. Does it at this point?
Yes. When they were wondering about asking for help, this bluebird just out of nowhere is just like, "Hey, I can help you." And Wirt is afraid of this because the bird is talking.
Yeah, it's very bizarre to him, and he's like, "What the heck?" He freaks out, and there's a bird fly off after that, and then
before that, Greg gives a piece of candy to a tiny black turtle.
Yeah, I had that way back.
And as that happens, the wood chopper actually finds Wirt and Greg.
Yep.
Bluebird zips out of there, and of course the woodsman is like, "Nah, you shouldn't be out here in the woods alone."
Yeah, great Scott.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. This woodcutter, this woodsman, is actually voiced by Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher frickin' Lloyd.
Yep.
From Clue.
From Clue. Or what was the one? Oh, I did the Pagemaster, actually.
The Pagemaster? Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
That movie that nobody likes except for me.
You like it too?
Yeah,
I love it.
I remember, like, everyone in my family hated that movie when I thought I loved it.
Right? I don't know why people hate it. It's like they had no childhood.
It was great.
But yes.
But also freaking Doc Brown, of course, from Back to the
Well,
Future.
we tried to avoid that one, obviously.
Well, hey, we used the obvious one last time, so why not?
True. What happens next?
He warns them they shouldn't be walking alone in the woods because of the beast. They should be aware of him. He tells them that this place is the unknown, which is, we finally get a name for this area that they're walking through.
Yep.
He tells them that he has an abandoned mill that he's living out of at the time.
Yep, he's living in an abandoned mill where he works and lives.
Yep, and he says his purpose in life is to burn the wood to make oil to fuel his lantern.
Which we find out it's not just any wood; it's Edelwood trees.
They say at this point.
Yeah, he actually tells them it's Edelwood.
I totally glossed over that, and I didn't pay any attention to that because later on when they say it again, I was like, why do they specify that it's Edelwood? That's weird.
Yes,
But
this is the first name drop, but all we know is it's a specific kind of tree.
Yep, he's burning the wood and making the oil. Let's see. He leaves them alone in the room at this point, right?
Yes, he leaves them alone in the room, and Greg and Wirt start trying to make a plan. Wirt's like, "Hey, we should actually, get out of here,"
Yep.
or maybe just club him over the head because he actually knows the way through the woods and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, but then Wirt says, "No, that's a bad plan." All while Greg is, trying to swing some things, like a log or a figure or just a few other things. Yep. Oh, and a plank. That's what it was. It was a plank of wood.
After the woodsman leaves the room and says, "Well, be careful. Remember the beast." And he leaves, and then Wirt's like, "Should we knock him out?" And Greg's just swinging objects. It's really bizarre and really weird. Right. But at this point, Wirt starts reciting more poetry to himself.
And then we get one of the many moments where Greg just looks and says, "Hey, did you know if you soak a raisin in grape juice, it turns into a grape?" Pulls out a rock with a silly painted face and goes, "And that's a rock fact."
Yep.
Get used to that, folks, because that happens a lot.
That's going to be a very frequent thing. And also, should we point out that the rock looks like the one picked up from the garden in the intro images?
Yeah, actually, because they can't actually visually see any of this.
Of course.
So, yes,
it's the same painted rock from the intro that we see.
Yes, it is. And also...
Oh, we learned that at this point, Greg calls the rock Kitty.
No, he calls the frog Kitty.
Yeah. Oh, you said the rock?
You said the rock.
I meant the frog, my bad.
And Greg is looking for his frog Kitty.
Yep, and he says, "Don't worry, second brother, I'll find you."
Don't worry, second brother. Greg, I even had to point this out, but Greg is freaking adorable in this entire show. He's just nothing gets to him. Yeah. Even when something negative is happening, he literally can somehow turn it positive.
Yep, he's a very versatile character. He's very, very funny.
Well, he hears Kitty croaking somewhere, and as he's looking deep into the woods, and hears some growling or something.
Yep.
So he looks inside a window where he sees the woodsman taking those sticks and grinding them up into this very black oil.
Yeah, it's very bizarre looking.
Yeah, it's just like tar looking.
Is it like an actual normal meat grinder that he's putting them into, or is it a weird? It looks like a tree grinder.
It was a certain kind of grinder where he just put the wood in, and when he ground it up, all that came out was oil from a tube.
And
so
Greg
I don't know what that is. Yeah, he's gross.
Gross.
Falls into the barrel and finds Kitty.
Yeah.
And also, as he's hearing more growls, in the barrel over his head, he sees this strange-looking wolf-like creature.
Crazy wall-eyed wolf with big blue and yellow eyes.
Yeah, blue yellowish eyes and dripping black from his mouth and stuff like that.
We cut back into Wirt inside of the mill at this point. Rested. Is he just lying?
He's lying on the couch right now, and all when Greg yells, he actually hears this, and the woodsman just comes in and is like, "Where's your brother? What's going on?" And Wirt's just like, "Eh."
Yeah. Is this when Greg bursts in with the monster?
With the wolf thing. Yep. It is we're not just talking any wolf. It's this big,
it's enormous.
Big-bodied wolf with teeny tiny, thin legs. Kinda.
Yeah, it's a very bizarre looking creature. it follows him into the house, and like the woodsman prepares to finally take this thing out with an axe, and that is when Greg
takes the plank of wood,
yep,
swings it at his hat to make him turn around, step on the figure, trip and fall, and hit his head on the log.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, that was very elaborate for some reason.
Yeah, it was a very funny thing.
And
for
of
also
course,
he was swinging earlier, which is like just hilarious for a good setup.
Right. And of course, Wirt's like, why did you do that? Greg's like, that was your plan, to knock him out. And Wirt's like, I said it was a bad plan.
The beast keeps chasing them
the
all
beast
around the
keeps
house
chasing them and
into
all that.
the mill where the oil grinding thing was.
Yep, and literally everything just goes to shambles.
Yep, they start breaking it up and destroying it. And around here is when we see they tracks them down into the mill. They're cornered by it.
Yep.
And finally, Greg pulls out more pants candy and just throws it in front of the wolf.
Which is when Wirt's like, oh, it's eating your candy, and Greg's like, huh, maybe it was eating my candy trail.
Yep.
And so we find out that unknowingly, Greg was leading this wolf to them.
Yep. And
so they escape to the roof where the wolf is like cornering them.
Yep.
And Greg has one last piece of candy and throws it over the edge, and the wolf follows it, getting stuck in the mill wheel.
Yep, I thought it was the water mill.
The water mill.
I'm not sure what
Sorry,
it's called.
I just call it.
I don't know.
I
assume it's called the water mill. It's probably not the actual name for it.
But as the wolf is getting crushed, like this is. Even though it's kind of like supposed to be creepy and stuff, this is kind of like
it's very
serious.
bizarre.
Like,
it's getting squeezed, like you see, like it's like just like bulging out while it's getting squeezed in between the water wheel, I think it's called.
Yeah, and the water wheel and a rock
and a rock on the side. Yeah, and eventually it just barfs up the little turtle.
Yeah, a little black turtle with a piece of candy on it.
Piece of candy on it. It's very bizarre.
And Wirt's like, "Wait, what happened? Where's the creature?" And Greg's like, "Hey, look." Out of the water comes out a very specific looking dog, from the intro.
Yeah, looks like the intro.
It's just a regular dog. And he's like, this dog, the wolf turned into a dog, and now it's my friend. And the dog just leaves.
Yep, it's very bizarre.
And the woodsman finally wakes up and is upset.
Yeah, they say, hey, you shouldn't be upset. We killed the beast. And he says, that's not the beast.
That's not the beast. The beast is the death of all hope and insert many ominous.
Yeah, very, very long, ominous, creepy sounding name.
And of course, Wirt points out to Greg, he's like, yeah, you're always getting into trouble. This is all your fault. And the woodsman turns around and says, no, this is your fault.
Yep.
You're the older brother. You should be able to look out for your brother. And everything your brother and you do is all on you.
Yeah, it's all your responsibility since you're the older brother. And I was like, I assume, like, okay, that's probably like a message throughout this whole show probably is going to be.
Right, like you must carry your own torch. And then he's like, go north and follow that path until you see a town, get out of the woods. And he also, for some reason, tells Greg to take care of the frog and give him a name.
Yep, and at the end we find out that Greg is naming the frog this time Wirt, and
Wirt. Yep, and so at the end, Greg calls the frog Wirt, calls Wirt Kitty, and then Wirt is like, okay, fine. Then Greg, your name is gonna be Candy Pants, and Greg's just like, yeah.
Yeah, and
they walk into the woods, deeper into the woods, and that's where the first episode.
I was gonna say it pans up and we see the bird still watching them.
Oh yes, we do see a bird. We do see a bird watching them. Yep. So that was episode 1 out of 10. So, what do you think so far? Now that you've rewatched it and now have a better understanding.
I was gonna say before when I was watching it for the first time, I was just like, "Boy, this is a very bizarre. Feels like a classic fantasy like adventure thing." And I was like, "This is really cool and interesting." I was like positing theories about like, okay, I figured when that thing attacked, when the dog wolf beast attacked him, I was like, okay, I'm assuming this is not the beast that the man was talking about because seeing a bunch of fiction and knowing how things work in story writing and stuff, I was like, I'm assuming this is not the beast and he's going to be tricking them. I loved when Greg did all that huge Rube Goldberg. I said, like, I wrote in my notes, he Rube Goldberg'd him.
Yeah. I thought that was hilarious too. And kind of like you, I watched it the first time and I'm just like, oh, that's hilarious. Watched it the second time and realized all the stuff that he used were the things he was trying to swing around. To see, just to test out. I'm like, this is smart.
Mm-hmm. It was really cool.
And of course, you just like right now, rather than the first time you watched this first episode, you did notice that some things are very familiar, like, throughout the whole thing. Like, you saw the intro with a bunch of random things.
Yeah.
And then you noticed, like, the rock is the same thing, and the dog is the same.
Yeah, I didn't realize the dog was the same thing till the end. But
well, right.
Rock,
like when the dog became just a regular dog, not the wolf. It's like, oh, that's that same dog in the intro, kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought that along with those images was going to be the reoccurring intro to the show every time, but when it wasn't, I was like, oh, okay.
That was just an introduction thing. So.
Yep.
And speaking of speaking of multiple episodes,
we have episode 2, Hard Times at the Huskin Bee.
At the Huskin Bee.
Yep. We see some really, really high quality animation on leaves and wind and like brushing through the fences in this big field.
Right, just really, like a whole bunch of like autumn scenery.
Yeah, it was like really like freaking like really rough Bakshi level crazy good animation. I was surprised about that. And then because of the kids traveling into the day, even though it was night when they left the... Was it around
it was night, and in this case, even Wirt points out that it became morning.
Yeah, it's still morning, we haven't hit the town. They're like, how's that even possible? They hear someone crying for help, and Greg's like, hey, do you hear that? And Wirt's like, no. And he keeps walking, which is very hilarious.
Oh, and by the way, Greg has been... Up until this point, Greg has been so good with his dialogue.
Yeah,
because all he's doing is blowing raspberries.
Yeah, he's like, didn't you hear me? I'm going... He's like being stupid. It's amazingly cute.
Yeah, but then we actually get to the bush.
Yeah.
And we
find... before the bush, while Wirt ignores the cry for help, Wirt finds the sign for Potts Field.
Yep, Potts
Field,
1 mile. 1 mile.
Yep. Now, I'm about to say, like, well, I don't want to like spoil this was the episode, but like when I heard Potts Field, my mind went immediately to Potter's Field, and I was just like, I know what that word means. Mm-hmm. But it says 1 mile away. He turns around to tell Greg, and Greg has ran off, and he realizes that Greg went off to find the noise he heard. And he approaches a weird thorny bush, and we see
the bird
from before.
Yep, she is trapped, and she's like, hey, help me out, and I'll owe you a favor.
Yep.
Greg thinks this means, oh, it's a wish.
Yeah, she'll grant a wish. That's great.
And the talking bird makes sure that he understands that she is not magical.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to do you a good turn, and that's all it is. Okay, well, turn me into a tiger. And he's like, I can't do anything magic. He's like, not a magic tiger. And I'm just like, that was amazing.
See, I like that kind of logic with Greg. It's like, oh, then turn me into a tiger. I said I'm not magical. Don't make it magical then.
That was amazing.
And of course, Wirt just walks over and says, quit talking to the bush.
Yep.
Greg's like, okay, freeze bird.
Yeah, it was amazing. And she says that they're wandering kids with no purpose, so she'll just help them. She knows that what to do to take them to Adelaide of the Pasture.
And of course, Wirt's all like, magic.
The Good Woman of the Woods, also her
title. The Good Woman. Yeah, it's Adelaide of the Pasture. The Good Woman of the Woods. And of course, Wirt is not on board with this because magic talking birds leading them to fairy godmothers and a mysterious... I'm just going to Pottsfield.
Yeah, that was amazing. Wirt doesn't want anything to do with this crazy magic talk. Greg keeps telling her he'll save his wish for later, and she's just like, ugh, okay, kids.
Right. And as they're walking on the path, we actually do get Greg talking to the bird. And we finally get a name drop for the bird.
Yep, Beatrice. Greg says, I'm Greg, and that's Wirt. And she's like, I don't care. Which is
like, that's Wirt. I don't care.
Yeah, immediately establishing their relationship. It was hilarious. Mm-hmm. We see that he still has the frog named Wirt Jr. at this point.
Yep, Wirt Jr.
They see the town in the distance, and on the way in, Greg accidentally steps on a pumpkin, and then Wirt immediately also steps on a pumpkin.
Steps on a pumpkin as well, because apparently all the pumpkins on the side, they can't just stay on the side. They gotta be here in the middle of the road.
Yeah, it's fine. Wirt kicks his pumpkin off, but Greg takes his into town, which I was like, ooh, that's gonna be an important plot point, I bet.
And of course, in the village, it's all deserted.
Completely abandoned, nobody around, except for when Wirt opens one house and he sees a turkey looking like it's playing dead on the table.
Just sleeping on the table.
Yeah, it's like,
And then, of course, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Turkey gets up and looks at him.
Yeah,
he goes,
creepy.
Can we have a phone or something? Or the turkey stares at him. Because he's a turkey.
Yep, it's amazingly hilarious. Does he, and then, okay, and he, does it gobble at him before he closes the door?
No, what happens is he goes to close the door, and the turkey just goes right back to sleep.
Yeah, just flops right over again. It's really bizarre. He goes back to them, and he says, doesn't he tell Beatrice, he's like, hey, I thought it would talk because you talking?
No, that's way later? Nothing like that ever got established.
I thought he said something asked or something like that. Yeah.
No, Beatrice was like, hey, did you find anything? And he just goes, nope. And then Greg's like, what's that I hear in the distance?
Yep, they hear some singing coming from a farmhouse, and they go travel over, enter, and see a bunch of weird. Like what I thought was from Pathfinder, the pumpkin Leshier, just Leshier, like little living plant things.
Oh yeah, it's
like a living plant creature, like a little plant creature, but they're all pumpkins and they have like wispy, brushy bodies, and it's very bizarre.
like cornstalk bodies and pumpkin heads. And stuff like
non-moving, like
drawn on pumpkin
actual
heads. Jack-o'-lantern heads that don't move. They're like stationary jack-o'-lanterns.
We see them dancing and everything is very funny. The people ask and they see him and they say, "Hey, aren't you a little early to be here?" And he's just like, "What?"
Huh?
You guys are wearing masks. You're like, okay, figured it out. Like, yeah, they're not wearing
and
people.
one guy's just like, yeah, I mean, what, you think pumpkins can talk or something?
Like, pumpkins can't talk, can they? And they're like, no, I guess not. It was very creepy. It was amazingly awesome.
And before they go in, Wirt tries to, like, get Beatrice to go away. He's like, hey, thanks, but you can go away now. But Beatrice points out that she's honor-bound because Greg saved her. It's the Bluebird rules.
Yeah, it's funny, like, they say, hey, don your costumes and join the festival, and then Beatrice is like, this is really creepy, and then Ward's like, it's just a cult.
Yeah, it's just a cult that does this thing. Nothing bad, nothing bad.
For the rest of them, I know to keep referring to everyone as cultists.
Well, as the people are like, hey, aren't you too early for this? Yeah. Ward's just like, no, we're just passing through. They're like, nobody just passes through Pottsfield.
Yeah, well, he's talking to some girl cultist. Something before that, like one weird little thing that stood out to me when Wirt tells Beatrice that Beatrice wants to leave. Wirt says, "I'm gonna find a ride home." And I was like, that's pretty like weird, like modern way of saying things. That's pretty peculiar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, then again, earlier when he was talking to the turkey, he did mention he wanted to borrow a telephone.
Yeah. He's like, "Do you have a phone here?"
Yeah, there's another interesting drop.
Yeah, but like, the cultists say, you look early, and then like you're not ready to join them yet, and it's like, oh, what does that mean? People don't just pass through Pottsfield like you said. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then we see an old pumpkin cult man just like says, "Oh, what'd you say? You're gonna pass through? You can't leave." And then
and it just instantly when the old man talks, the party dies out and everyone does like the creepy turn and stare.
Yeah, everyone's staring at Wirt and them, and it's very bizarre. We see the guy from earlier who bumped into them and said, "Hey, put your suits on." Seals the door to the barn, and then a big, gigantic pumpkin. They say, "Enoch, what should we do?" And we see a much bigger than the rest of the pumpkin.
Which is funny because if you notice, that big pumpkin thing is actually the pole that they were dancing around.
Yeah, it's very creepy. Face comes out of it. It's the giant pumpkin jack-o'-lantern.
Super deep voice, now hold on. There.
Yeah, I assume he's some kind of singer because he sounds.
Honestly, his name is Chris Isaac, and the only thing that was prominent is he's from the Chris Isaac Show. I have no idea who this guy
wish I looked him up. He does sound really, really familiar. But we see, he says where do you guys, we see that this pumpkin is not like a humanoid-looking body because its arms are like thin little, what are they called? The little stalks, or not?
Like the
hay?
cornstalk?
Yeah, like hay, like they're really thin.
Right, yeah, and he kind of like what you said. He kind of looks like a giant pumpkin leshy kind of thing because he's got like a big pumpkin head and like cornstalk kind of hay things or like really wiggly ones, tentacles and stuff like that.
Yeah, and he looms over them and he says, "What are you doing in this town? What'd you guys come here for?" And it's they reveals all stuff that happened. They tell them everything that happened so far in the episode.
Even the stepping on the pumpkins.
Yep, they stepped on pumpkins, and so he says, "So do you have the whole speech of how he judges them?"
He's like, "So let me get this straight. You guys were coming in here, stepping on our crops, interrupt our party, and now you want to leave? Well, that's too bad because now I gotta punish you." He sentenced them. He punishes them for trespassing, destruction of property, disturbing the peace, and murder. And Wirt's like, murder? And it goes, oh heavens, no, not that. But
that was great.
Now he has to sentence them, and their sentence is a few hours of manual labor.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Which then you get a montage of, Wirt and Greg and Beatrice even.
Yeah, they caught Beatrice in the middle of the trial thing.
She tried to nope out, but they caught her. With ball and chains, doing manual labor.
Just doing some farm work, basically.
Farm work and all that stuff. Well, actually, Wirt and Greg are. Beatrice is just laying on the ground because she's a bird.
We see him cutting corn and cutting down things and just doing random farm labor. While the pumpkins keep watching them from over the crops just creepily.
All that while that ever famous voice from this TV show, at least, Jack Jones sings one of my favorite songs, "Patient is the Night."
That was a really good song.
It is. I'm a sucker for jazz, really.
It's really good.
And then, of course, all of that happens. All of this, and we finally see our three protagonists, I can't really call them heroes.
Yeah, but to say that yet.
Our three protagonists are now digging in a field.
Yep, they're digging, Wirt and Greg are digging individual big holes in the ground.
Yep, and, Beatrice is like, so, what? What's gonna happen?
Yeah,
you're gonna do this labor, and then what? You're just gonna wander around,
and then she says, like, you guys are probably digging your own graves. Those cultists are probably gonna kill you.
and Wirt's just like, what? No. As Greg's like, hey, look at the treasure I found. What is it? A skeleton. And then, of course,
the cult arrives, and Beatrice asks Wirt to stall while she tries to like use her beak to get them out of there.
Right, and then of course, Enoch's like, "Hey, is everything ready?" and all that stuff. Yep, and Wirt is trying his darndest, stuttering like, and like
making stuff up, and
through, like something about rocks and stuff.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
As all this is happening in the background, you see Beatrice leave his hole, go to Greg's hole, and then Greg and Beatrice just leave.
Yeah, they just start running.
Wirt's just like, "Wait a minute, they ditched me." And then as he's still trying to stall, not catching the hint that he could go too.
No, I was going to say, I didn't realize that. I just thought that...
Well, yeah, no one knows. Like he's just sitting there because he thought maybe, no one knows.
I thought too, like, they just ditched him. That's hilarious. And then
we see as he's stalling, a skeleton pops out of the hole and starts banging his head with bones.
Yeah, I'm doing a skeleton dance.
And
spooky skeleton dance.
Right. And then all the pumpkin Cultist guys are like, "Hey, look, it's I forget what his name is because they called him by name."
Yeah,
and then this like crazy skeletons doing flips and stuff jumps into a bigger pumpkin, puts a pumpkin on his head.
Yep.
And then another skeleton that was in Wirt's hole finally crawls out and does the same thing, and Wirt realizes, oh, they're all skeletons.
Yeah, this is just like, I think like I had picked up on a vague hint earlier when they were like, aren't you a little early, and like when he said, hey, what are you doing with that? Like you're a little with the suit and all that. I was like, okay, and like nobody just passes through, and also Potter's Field. I was like, oh, okay, they're undead. I figured that I thought they were just possessing the pumpkins and grass or something like that.
Just in case people don't understand why Potter's Field would be a hint.
It's like a I don't know, like a grave for like serfs or like a low level people, just like a random like barely marked grave. It's just a large.
It's a graveyard term, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so after all this is happening, Enoch's just like, hey, you sure you don't want to join us? Yeah. And Wirt's just like, I want to get out. And then the final words of Enoch are,
creepy.
That's okay. You'll be joining us anyway.
Yeah, you'll be joining us sometime.
You'll be joining us sometime. It's just like, and that's creepy.
Yeah, it was very bizarre. Wirt finally leaves.
Beatrice
Beatrice comes back and says, what are you still doing here? And he's like, yeah, you ditched me. And he like, she puts down and his thing's already open. That's when I burst out laughing from that.
Yeah, right. It was great. And then, of course, Wirt realizes, thanks Beatrice, because Beatrice did actually help. And he's like, so I guess you're not honor bound anymore.
And she's like, no, you weren't really in danger the whole time, so I'm still going to follow you guys. But yeah, I'm like, since that plan didn't work, I'm going to take you guys to Adelaide of the pasture. You don't have to.
They just call her Adelaide.
Right I know, but I'm going to keep saying it every time probably. so that she can get them home. It ends on a leaf blowing into the I was gonna say earlier.
Before that, though, you forgot about Greg's wish. He actually gets to tell. Yeah, he says what his wish is. He wishes that Wirt Jr. had fingernails so he could play the guitar better.
Yeah, you're right. That's good. Well, I was gonna say before earlier at the when the pumpkins were all dancing at the festival, one of the pumpkins was dancing with a black cat.
Yes, with a black cat.
Yeah, but the final image is like very ominous music playing over a leaf getting caught in the fence. I don't know if that was like supposed to be alluding to something, but I thought it would be.
I don't know if it was a symbolism, because also Wirt's last words are that he hopes that Beatrice's directions are better than the woodsman, because the woodsman didn't give him very good directions.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
And then there was that leaf caught in the fence.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it was just an image, but I don't know. Even I don't know if that was like symbolism or anything.
Yeah, it was very bizarre. I'm very curious about that whole thing. But yeah, that was a very good episode. I loved the hints of what was going on. It was very enjoyable. And like, I'm curious if that was the village that the guy was pointing to, or the one from the sea.
Well, I mean, he did say go north until you find a village.
Yep.
They went north. They found a sign for a village. So maybe it was?
Yeah, I guess that was the right direction he told him. I'm not sure.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
And speaking of very interesting directions, let's go on to the third episode.
Now, this is the first of one of my favorite episodes.
Oh,
I really like this one for some reason. It was very, very funny and just like the whole aesthetic. But you set him off.
We'll get there. But episode 3, School Town Follies.
Yep.
We start with Greg singing about the Adelaide Parade.
Yeah.
And it's a cute little thing, and he's trying to get Wirt and Beatrice to sing with them, and they're just like, no.
Yeah, they don't want to sing.
And of course, all of this time, Beatrice is like, come on, we gotta go, do this. Wirt tries to tie his shoe many times.
It's very funny.
Is like, no, you just get going.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Not noticing what he's doing. He's just like, Wirt, stop.
And of course, my overhead little brain is like, okay, this is going to be important. This is going to be something in the plot. This has to be important.
Which, by the way, I hope you do that with every single episode.
Of course.
Yes, that's good.
I'm trying to get ahead of the show and I absolutely can't.
And of course, as all this is happening, Greg, is trying to be his own person, but Beatrice is like, hey, Greg, why can't you be more like your brother?
Yeah.
A tool that literally does everything he's told.
A wimp and a pushover.
Yep. And of course, it's funny because Wirt's like, I'm not a pushover. Beatrice is like, let me get to my point. Wirt's like, okay. And then Beatrice is like, see? Just what I was talking about.
That was amazing.
And of course, Greg's like, I just want to spread happiness. I want the world to be happy and do my part. And Beatrice is like, the world stinks. And not everyone's going to be happy.
I'm like, life isn't fun. She says,
life isn't fun. And Greg's just like, And then all of a sudden we find out that, Greg just leaves.
Bitches again, as they love doing.
As Wirt and Beatrice are talking about, things and stuff. Greg just leaves and wanders into the woods with his frog, which is still... I don't think they have a name for the frog in this episode.
Not yet. They haven't said a name for it now.
So he walks and he sees this really old red schoolhouse. We're talking
Do they play a school bell noise or a sound or something?
Not yet.
No, not the bell.
Oh no! I don't think they do. He just sees it and it's just a schoolhouse. It's distinct because it's one of those really old not even 1900s kind of.
I was gonna say it looks exactly like the one from The Wicker Man, if you remember that movie.
Yes, I do. Which one?
The good one, the Nick Cage one.
Well, you said good one, and then you said Nick Cage.
Yeah.
That's a discussion for something else. And of course, Greg immediately sees school and says, "Ew," walks away.
Yep, immediately ditches, and I was like, "That's hilarious."
And then, literally, I guess it would be in a matter of 5 minutes or something.
Yeah,
because we instantly cut to Beatrice and Wirt walking to that same schoolhouse.
Yep.
Only where Greg left, they walk in and there's a school marm.
A regular human woman teaching a classroom full of animals in old school looking outfits.
Mm-hmm. And she's just in her weird you've seen the TV show The Nanny.
No. The old show, The Nanny?
Yeah,
the 90s one,
Where the girl with the nasally kind of voice. Yeah. That's the voice she has.
I was going to say, did you write down the actress?
For her?
Yeah.
For her, no, I did not.
Oh, she's an old school, singer.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. Very, very old school.
Well, she's now children, class is about to start. And Beatrice is Wirt can't learn. He's got no brain.
Yeah,
and Wirt goes,
Wirt's
I'm sorry, what? I can't hear you over the fact that I have to do what I'm told.
Yeah, it's very funny. He just sits down and it's amazing. I love he just goes into the class with all the weird animals, sits down next to him and starts just paying attention.
Right.
It's really funny.
And as she's teaching the class, Beatrice is what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. We gotta get out of here kind of thing. And the marm's just...
Oh, we have to look for Greg.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
It actually stays with...
Oh, yeah. Stays with for a bit.
Yeah, it actually stays with because as Beatrice is bickering, the teacher tells Wirt to stop talking.
Yeah.
Because she has no time for this nonsense because... She has enough trouble with a no good handsome man of hers.
Yeah, I was gonna say before that. I think we did Beatrice says, "Come on, Wirt, don't you want to leave? We gotta find Greg." And then he looks out the window and he sees.
Oh yeah, and Greg's just
Greg singing and dancing and playing outside the window, and then the teacher says, "Oh, I know, that all thing about."
You're right. That was a very
yeah, we could wait him later, but yeah.
It's just wait, you have to be worried about Greg, right? Looks out a window, Greg's there, first waving, and just going out and playing. He's just
yeah, he's fine. And then the teacher goes on her huge
her take about her pretty much boyfriend Jimmy Brown leaving her father threatening the schoolhouse, and that wild gorilla on the loose.
Yeah, this whole like setup and gag, I absolutely loved it. It was such a funny,
it's great,
specific thing. I was like, this is it's such a weird setting with the whole like, I love this whole like weird old timey
right
1800s-ness, and then like her saying, "Oh, you gonna sit down in the school and my old no good Jimmy Brown and that horrible gorilla."
It's like odd, and then of course she literally expresses her displeasure with her boyfriend through song.
Yep, it's like the crazy like ABC weird song.
Right.
I don't know what she's spelling. She's like sort of
she's doing the alphabet. She's doing like the alphabet, and then she does numbers. As well.
I thought I remember the first one she says A, and then she says something fast.
She literally just goes through the alphabet. Like A is for the apple that you gave to me.
Yeah.
But I found a worm inside. B is for the.
Did she say B? Because I remember the cut back to when she's saying G after she.
Right, because Beatrice is like, wow, that lady's got a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
And of course interrupts the song. With the lady, with the teacher, Miss Langtree, we find out is like, young man, go to the dunce box, and then work just.
He's like,
what he's told.
Yep, he goes, and I love how it already has a little cutout for his pointy hat. It looks like a dunce cap.
Like, it's literally like a weird little.
It's like a little cage.
For lack of better terms, it's like an outhouse with like a cage.
I would say it looks like a wooden box or a wooden cage with like a little barred hole for the face and a hole at the top for a dunce cap. A hole at the top
so that for the dunce cap.
That was amazing. He already had it on him, though. That was hilarious.
And then of course as she's continuing to sing, we go outside and we see Greg with a whole bunch of other animals,
a bunch of no good bad animals skipping class and wearing dirt outfits.
And he had to make sure that they know that despite what they teach you in school, hot dogs are not actually dogs.
I was about to say, he learned that in school. While he's saying, "Man, I love you guys," we see another black turtle crawling up, and
raccoon.
The raccoon just picks it up and throws it in the water.
Just whatever. And then Greg goes to teach them how to play Two Old Cats, which is literally them going around and looking for two old cats. They find two old cats, except one of them was just too old.
I thought that was the put of the game. I was like, is that like if I'm the cat that's too old? And like to see him like taking care of the old man cat, I was like, that's so adorable.
And just so they know, it's literally an old cat, like kind of got like a white beard with teeny tiny glasses and a cane. And then as they're doing this, they look and they see a gorilla.
And also I was gonna say at this point the gorilla's looks very similar to the beast in the first episode because it has some like blue and yellow eye thing on it, and I was just like, oh, is that what the case? I was like, was that the turtle again? Because like at this point still I'm still trying to figure out what's going on in the show. And I remember the snail from the first couple seasons of Adventure Time, which like ended up being important because it was always like in the corner in the background. I was like, oh, these turtles must be like the clue to everything because they popped up twice.
I watched some Adventure Time. I haven't actually watched it avidly.
I would say if we have like 1,000 episodes, we should definitely do it for the show eventually because it's really good. But it's too much.
That'll be a long one, but eventually maybe.
But like I figured the turtles were going to be important. So, or like I figured like there must be causing these weird monsters because like the gorilla was hilarious. The fact that it actually popped up during the middle of the episode was amazing.
Yeah,
and it chases them around. Yep.
As this happens, we go back to the classroom where Langtree is literally laying on the floor, finishing her song,
doing why and really
why oh why, and then they hear the school bell ring, which in reality is Greg and the other animals hanging on the bell, like trying to warn them that there's a gorilla out there. But Miss Langtree's like, "What? It's mealtime already? All right, kids, let's go." Greg and all the other kids run in as well to get away from the gorilla.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's funny. Yeah, Greg and them finally come into the class and go down and sit down and eat. It's really.
Wait, we forgot something else actually. After the school bell rings and everyone's going in, the gorilla is chasing Greg and them around a tree where the possum kid takes a stick and bonks it on the head.
Yeah, that was really
forgot
funny.
about that.
Yeah, that's funny how they get rid of the gorilla at that point.
And as they're all going to lunch, Miss Langtree mentions that her dad is coming to visit, so be on their best behavior. Oh, and mealtime.
Yeah, but I had no idea what the hell they were eating for a little bit.
Right, they're eating.
All the kids are sitting at like rows and rows of desks, eating some kind of weird, goopy,
white goop thing, which. We'll just come out and say it right now. It's supposed to be mashed potatoes.
Yeah, they say that in a little bit, but yeah.
Right, yeah. I know they do, but still. They're eating mashed potatoes, and even Greg's like, hey, delicious potatoes. Kind of eats them, and they're bland.
You cut to all the other animals at the desks and at the table, just like all very bored and playing with the food, not really being happy. It's really funny.
And of course, even even Wirt is like, getting ready to eat.
Yeah, Beatrice finally points out, like, hey, you weren't told, Dean. He's like, okay, and he puts it back down.
And then Greg's like, Greg's thinking, because that's what Greg does. He constantly thinks. And he looks at Miss Langtree, who's playing a very somber, slow song, all sad and stuff. Sees a jar of molasses.
Yep.
Goes over and says, hey, Miss Langtree, play a song that's like this. Literally just slams his hand on the...
bashing on the piano. And then she just plays something slightly more fast. He's like, that's good enough.
Yeah, it's good enough. Takes the jug of molasses, and this is where one of the more iconic songs of the series... I was going to say,
but like while he's taking the jug, above the piano, we see a picture of a blonde man with a mustache.
Oh, yes, and a mustache. Yep,
he says Jim. I'm like, oh, hey, there's Jim Brown
there's,
up there.
There's a picture of Jimmy Brown.
Yep, but Greg takes the big jug of molasses, which in case you don't know, I guess is a very, very, very thick syrup.
Oh, yes.
It's an incredibly...
In case you don't know. Mainly used for baking, really.
Yeah,
if you ever had molasses cookies, those things are amazing.
Yeah, I thought used for just eating, I don't think.
But some people do. Some people actually just
pie and stuff.
dip it. Well, no, some people actually just put it on their pancakes or something as well.
That's bizarre.
It's like it's syrup, but more robust.
Yeah, it's an incredibly thick syrup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, of course, one of the most iconic songs gets played, Potatoes and Molasses.
Yep.
And as Greg is singing this, and as he's putting molasses on potatoes, all the animals are having a good time. Even Miss Langtree is having a fun time.
And midway through, we see the gorilla peeking through the window.
And as all this happens, nobody notices the gorilla, but some of them are, flinging their spoon, they're having fun swinging their things around. And a thing of potatoes and molasses hits the gorilla in the face and he gets knocked out again. Because what was in those potatoes? Or was it the molasses?
I absolutely
Questions for
later. This whole thing is so funny.
And then, as they're all having fun, you hear an old man be like, that's enough!
Yep.
And you see just this old man
in a big giant coat.
Big coat, tall hat.
Does he have a mustache and beard, I think?
No, he doesn't have any facial hair? He's clean-shaven. He's just old, with glasses.
Yeah, old man
And we find out that is Old Man Langtree, a.k.a. her dad.
Yep, the father.
And the father is upset because this is not what he paid for the school.
Yeah.
They have to do important things, like teaching animals to count and spell.
That made me laugh again. This whole episode, I just love it. It's so silly.
However, Old Man Langtree, his voice is Sam Marin, who is, if any of you have seen the regular show, he's Benson.
Oh, really?
Yep, I found that out. I've never seen the regular show, but I know a lot of people have.
Really, yeah.
So.
Really, he's Benson?
He's Benson.
I feel like I should have recognized him because he's such a distinct voice, but yeah, he's amazingly hilarious.
And then, of course, what he does is he's, in his upsetness, he takes all the instruments away because during Potatoes and Molasses, they all had instruments.
Yeah, suddenly all the animals started playing.
Yeah, suddenly instruments.
Yeah, it was really
he
funny.
Takes them all away and just storms out.
Yep, and
tells everyone to go to bed. And so, she's like, you heard my dad. And so... they all go to bed, and
sadly,
very sad, and it instantly goes to nighttime because it was like daytime in this entire scene, and it's just instant nighttime.
Yeah.
And then of course Wirt and Beatrice. Beatrice is like, wow. Okay, you're not a pushover. You're a psychopath. How long are you going to keep this up? And we're just like, maybe never. Maybe I'll do this forever.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
And Greg takes that to be, never surrender. I have an idea. Let's go.
He wants to make the world a better place.
Yep.
He says.
And then so Greg and Wirt and Beatrice actually leave and find the old man who is sitting with all the instruments lamenting because he put all of his money into the schoolhouse, so now he has to sell the instruments to make money. And while all of this, that no good Jimmy Brown is off doing who knows what.
Not to mention,
and then there's that gorilla that's on the loose.
That gorilla on the loose. I have no idea why this such a weird, simple old-timey thing is just so amazingly hilarious to me.
It's beautiful. I love it. And so after he's done lamenting, he stands the trombone up, puts his jacket over it, which, by the way, the jacket looks much bigger than he actually is. Yeah,
he's very, very thin compared to the giant poofy jacket that made him look huge.
And he just curls up underneath and falls asleep. The moment he falls asleep, Greg says, he's asleep. Let's steal his stuff.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Instantly cut to the next day, where Old Man Langtree is asleep with his coat on his as like a blanket, and all of the instruments are gone. And he's like,
what's going on?
Who stole this? Who would do that? And then he hears music being played. He walks over and he sees like this old stage like set up where the animals are playing instruments, and everyone, like all these regular people, are literally dumping purses and purses of coins and money into a giant wash tub, as well as Greg's little kettle.
Yeah, Greg's kettle's collecting money, and they're just walking around getting money. He's like, what's going on? The boys say that they're putting on a benefit concert for the school.
Yep, to raise them enough money. And, as if on cue, boom! Gorilla!
Oh, no!
A gorilla appears and starts attacking. And, of course, Old Man Langtree is like, do something, boy with red hat.
Yeah,
and Wirt just goes to try to tackle the gorilla, trips on his shoelaces, and falls, and knocks the gorilla over, also knocking off his head. What?
Yeah, knocking off his head, and it's like, and it's revealed it's Jimmy Brown. He was in the gorilla suit.
He was the gorilla all the time. The voice of Jimmy Brown.
Yeah.
Ever seen the show Reno 911?
Oh, it's not Andy Daly or not John Daly. I know the actor's name, but Thomas Lennon.
Yep. Yeah. Thomas Lennon.
I've listened to 1,000 podcasts.
Lieutenant Jimmy Dangle from Reno 911. Yeah, I thought that was weird.
He's great. He's amazing and everything.
Which, by the way, not really spoilers. This is the only thing he has in this show. Very famous guy. Yeah. He only gets like these 2 lines where everyone's like, wait, it's Jimmy in a gorilla outfit? And he goes, yeah, I was gonna join the circus to get money for a wedding ring, but since I was stuck in the costume, nobody wanted to help me because they were too dang scared.
Yeah, he was stuck in the suit or something like that. He couldn't get help because no one could understand him.
Yep, and then of course they make up. The old man Langtree is like, the world really is as sweet as potatoes and molasses. Cue potatoes and molasses reprisal.
Yeah.
And of course, Beatrice and Wirt kind of make up when Beatrice is like, Wirt, it's like, yeah, Beatrice, tie your shoe.
Yeah.
And Wirt does.
God, I absolutely love this episode. It was so funny. I literally don't know why, but just something inside that whole setup. Like it's like. I don't know, it's
amazing. It's hilarious.
It's so silly.
Oh my goodness!
I loved it to death.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I kind of like the old timey, and then it was just like so
the aesthetic
campy.
of it, and the weird the animals, and the fact that he like my father's gonna be here, and it's like an old school. It's like some weird.
My father's gonna close down the school.
Yeah,
that dang old gorilla.
Yeah, that dang gorilla, and then like the dad comes saying, "I made this school so I could teach animals to count and spell." And it's just like it's just the whole set. It was just I don't even know. It's just that everything culminated like that was one of my top episodes of this whole series. I love that episode.
Oh my goodness!
I have no idea why.
it's great, but that's right. That was all your thoughts on that.
Oh yeah,
right?
What did you think of the episode?
You already know what I thought. I'm agreeing with you with everything.
Yep.
But speaking of which,
speaking of next episode 4, Songs of the Dark Lantern.
Ooh,
this is another very very good episode. It opens with the woodsman, or we see a rainy forest, and it swoops down to see the woodsman chopping. Is he chopping?
Yep, he's chopping more wood.
Yep,
more edelwood.
Yeah, we see a man in a hay cart come swinging down the road right behind the woodsman. He's like, "What the heck is that?" We see that he's screaming, "Oh, the beast is upon me! The beast is following me!" As he's whipping his. Is it a horse? Right?
It's a horse.
Okay, yeah, they're running in the forest. He's like freaking out, like, "Oh, the beast is upon me!" Behind him, we see Greg pop out of the giant haystack
with the duck.
Yep, with a weird duck for some reason. He says, he looks behind him, he doesn't see anything, and he goes back in and he says, Wirt asks if he sees the beast, right? Everything. He says, like, I don't see anything.
He's like, I don't think I see anything, and the driver's just crazy. While Greg's also mentioning how hungry he is.
Yep, while they keep they stay hidden to things like, it's gonna take us all the way down. They say it's gonna take them somewhere.
Beatrice points out that the crazy driver is going the opposite direction.
Yep. And then, while in the middle of the storm, they get hit by something, or they just
he takes a really sharp turn,
and their giant bale of hay just flies off and lands next to a weird, giant, creepy old tavern.
Yep, this big old tavern, and of course, cue the creepy lightning and thunder with like a strange man staring out at them.
I thought it was the woodsman was following them in the shadows.
Yeah, that too. But when they're like, "Hey, let's go into that tavern," yeah, it like does like the whole like spooky like lightning flash crashing spooky sounds, and like you see like this one guy like looking out at them.
One creepy man in a pointy
and
hat.
Of course, it's like. nah, let's not go there. And Beatrice is like, just do it.
Yeah, and they start heading off. Then we see, that's when we see the woodsman. Then we see, like, them trying to open the door and it's stuck, and they, like, just, like, shove the door and you see, like, a big, fluffy, sleeping shepherd dog in front of it.
Big old, like, shaggy dog.
Yeah, as an owner of 3 dogs, that happens all the time. I'm like, why is this door stuck? And, like, one of them's like, oh, like, just get up and move. I'm like, yeah, god damn it.
Yeah, but this one is just, like, sitting there, like,
yeah, just chilling out. They open the thing and they see it's a very weird, like, same, like, slightly depressed-looking tavern. A very, like, classic fantasy trope, though, but it's, like, everyone's, like, really sad and everyone's looking around.
Everyone's, like, all, like, upset. Like, there's a band playing,
very morose
with a whistler.
With the guy, like, in the front. Was the guy, like, dancing, kind of? Like, it was really funny. The guy...
Yeah, there's, like, someone was, like, kind of...
Yeah.
And
we see they sit down at a bar, or sit down at a table, and like they start thinking what to order. The waitress, Greg goes off, and then
no. Greg goes to get food. Goes to get food.
Yeah.
While
Beatrice and Wirt sit at the table. The waitress comes over and says, "Hey, what can I get you?" Oh my goodness! He freaks out at Beatrice and starts like swinging a broom at her.
Right. It's like, we don't take kindly to unlucky bluebirds, which. By the way, I can't do the voice very well, but this tavern keeper has like the kind of Betty Boop kind of voice.
Yeah. Oh, what are you doing here?
Yeah, what you doing here?
Yeah, it's very funny. But like she keeps swinging the broom at him, at Beatrice, and she's like, "Hey, bluebirds are bad looking," and Beatrice says, "Hey, bluebirds are good luck. What are you talking about?"
And she's like, "I don't care. We don't want birds.
Yeah, good luck, bad luck. I don't want any kind of it. Get out of here." And Beatrice is like, "Fine."
Yeah, Beatrice is like, "Fine, I'm out."
No, she says something really like messed up. It's hilarious.
Yeah, she's like, "I cursed you. I cursed you."
No, she doesn't curse you. She says like, "Okay, one day you'll die, and I'll laugh." And then she falls out of the window.
Before she says that, she actually says that she's gonna curse her, and then
she says, "Curse you. Like one day you'll die, and I'll laugh. I'll laugh when you die." And just like, what the fuck?
It's like, come on, dude. Seriously, Beatrice, really?
That was hilarious, but dark as heck.
Oh, right. And then the tavern lady is like, "Hey, who are you guys?"
Yeah.
And Wirt's like, "I'm Wirt. This is Greg."
Does he want to know Beatrice or no?
No. No, he doesn't. And she goes, "Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
but who are you?"
But who are you? Yeah, it's very, very fun.
And Wirt's like, "I'm confused." And the lady goes, "Well, that guy over there's the butcher."
Yep.
Like, "I'm the butcher." There's the baker. I'm the baker. There's the apprentice and master.
Yeah, the master and apprentice.
Which, by the way, I was really hoping that they would do candlestick maker after butcher and baker.
That's what you would assume, but like,
and then they took that trope and then they just threw it away because there is no candlestick maker. Yeah, and I loved it even more.
I love the fact that it was funny. I just wrote down like while naming all the people, the master and apprentice look creepy. It's like a guy with a boy on a rope.
It's literally the master is just like guy in like a nice fancy suit, and literally there's a boy in like nice dress tied to a rope like around his waist,
and he just yanks the boy over to him. That's hilarious.
And of course there's a toy maker. There's a bunch of other things.
Yeah, we all have jobs, and then it cuts back to her after pointing out everyone else in the room. Like the toy, these two about the toy maker and stuff like that.
Oh, and the toy maker is not actually listed.
But like I was saying, she lists a bunch of people, and then it cuts back to her.
And she's known as the tavern.
Yeah,
keeper.
I'm the tavern. She's the tavern master or just tavern
keeper.
Keeper.
Yeah, the tavern keeper.
Like everyone has a job here, and then like zoom you see the open shot of everyone there, and then you see the weird creepy guy who was staring at them standing right next to her, not being addressed.
Yeah, not being just and then it's like so that's us. Who are you? And Wirt tries to contemplate what he would be.
Yeah, I don't know.
While getting interrupted by my favorite character,
the master.
Wirt's like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, maybe I'm the. And all of a sudden he gets interrupted with, "I'm the highwayman."
No, I was like before that, like he says, I guess I'm kind of complicated, and then you see the master, the master says, he must be simple.
And he must be simple. Yeah, it's like I'm not simple. Yeah, but I love it because he tries to figure this up, and it's just literally out of nowhere, just I'm the highwayman, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah, but the guy he's wearing like an old fashioned like a
burglar.
Yeah, and if you don't know what
wearing like a red like pointy.
I thought it was a green hat.
No, he's wearing all red.
Is it all red? I thought his hat was like greenish or something.
Nope.
Like that.
His hat's like kind of like the Link kind of hat, only sticking straight up red. Yeah. Red outfit, the actual bandit looking mask.
Yeah, bandit mask.
And as you were saying,
he starts doing this really cool, creepy song and dance. You know the name of the song?
It's literally called The Highwayman.
Yeah, it's just like doing those crazy weird animations, like just the camera just wobbling and wobbling and being really crazy.
You. Have you seen like the old video for Minnie the Moocher?
Of course, yeah.
The ghost. It reminded me of that. Yeah. Oh no, not the ghost one. Well, I mean that too. I'm talking about like the actual guy who sings it.
Oh, the singer of it.
Yeah, the singer.
Like from the Blues Brothers movie or from the old. Thing?
The old one. Yeah, well, either way, the ghost one as well. That video, but his movements kind of reminded me of that. Yeah, he's like
wibbling and wobbling and like swaying back and forth. It's really cool animation.
But Matt, what is a highwayman?
Yeah, I was gonna say, in case you didn't know, a highwayman is an old-fashioned term for a thief or a road, like a person who waits on the highways and just robs people. Yep. Whoever comes by him, he says like he makes. I'm the highwayman. He makes money however he can, and with a big like the classic kill you like thumb across the throat like gesture for money.
Talking about how he'll knock you out in the middle of the road, steal your shoes, and stuff like that. It's a really short song.
I love that song. It's so good.
It's great.
But after it's he says he makes sense to meet that way, and then at the end Wirt starts asking for help finding Adelaide, and they say.
Then we cut.
But see,
before that, we cut outside to Beatrice talking to a horse.
Yep.
Who is wearing lipstick for some reason.
Oh, I thought he was wearing lipstick the second time they cut back to him.
Oh,
I think first it's just like what's that kid doing, and he's just like
right, and the horse just goes making horse noises, and then she looks, and the horse has like red around its lips, and she's like, "Are you wearing lipstick?"
Yeah, and he kind of licks it away like it's
like it's nothing. And then we hear something new in the forest. She sees a light in the forest, and she hears some kind of operatic voice singing, like tra la 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 kind of thing.
Yep.
And she's like, "What's going on in there?" Then we go back in where Wirt goes up to, never actually mentioned, but he is known as the toy maker.
Yeah, he's making little figures of. He's making figures of people in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, he's making like little wooden figures of everyone in the bar, and he wants to ask for directions to Adelaide, which immediately makes the toy maker say, "Oh, that's who you are. You're the young lover." And Wirt's like, no.
I'm thinking. Oh, I don't know. Did you look it up? But is this supposed to be what the heck? What's it called? What's it called? Tales. It's like an old book with like a bunch of different people, all these different occupations and stuff like that.
I think I know what you're talking about.
That's going to annoy the heck out of me because we know that we're going to be able to figure out what it is.
Right, but
there's something tale. I think it's like an H word. There's something Canterbury Tales.
Oh, the Canterbury Tales.
I think that's
it's very reminiscent of that in my opinion.
I feel like that's what they're referencing with the jobs that they name. I think maybe that's what they're referencing. I'm not sure. I read the book like freaking 2 decades ago, probably.
This show is full of those little things.
Oh yeah, everyone's well, we didn't mention it. The school marm from the last episode, maybe a reference to a children's author from that time who wrote a book about animals in school.
Yep.
And stuff like that. They have like literary references and stuff to some of the people.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of little things like that.
Yeah, but they label him the young. Like, you're not simple like everyone thought. You must be the young lover, and
of course they tell him how to win Adelaide over by song.
Yep, another beautiful song in this show. I love it so much. Mm-hmm. He sings about wooing a girl, and there at the end it turns out they're like the whole song they're prepping him for marriage, and he's like,
right?
What?
He's like, wait, what? And then for a brief moment, we cut back out as that song's going. So Beatrice is like, you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna go and find the woodsman.
And don't she look in the window and see that they're just like being stupid?
Oh yeah, because she asks Greg. She's like, Greg, is he doing all right? He's like, yeah, he's doing good with directions. And they're like tossing Wirt up and down. Yeah, and she's like, screw it. I'm going into the woods because that's probably the woodsman. Because apparently someone with the lantern, they actually know there's a woodsman. So. And so she's like, I'm just gonna go to the woodsman, and just flies out.
Cut back in. Yeah, everyone after the song about marriage and all that, they say, "Hey, Greg, sing a song, sing a love song,
sing your love song."
He's like, okay.
We actually learn some very interesting things. Like he talks about how his name is Wirt, and that's Greg, and how their brother Greg is Wirt's brother because Wirt's mom remarried and had a child with the stepdad.
Yep.
So Greg is a half brother.
Yeah, I was gonna say I brought stepbrothers, but technically,
I was
gonna say I have the 3 half sisters, so I never learned the difference of the words. I have 3 half sisters, but I just refer to them as stepsisters all the time.
Right.
But yeah. It's it was just like, oh, okay, that they're half brothers.
Like that's a pretty big drop right there.
I was like, and also they're not from around here, of course, which we should know, but yeah.
And then of course everyone's like, wait a minute, you're not the young lover.
Yeah,
you're the pilgrim, the master of his own destiny.
Yeah, he says, okay, I guess I'm the pilgrim, and then they sing a song about the beast. The whole group sings a song about the beast.
Yep.
But they allude to the fact that he carries a lantern, chops down the Edelwood trees.
Yeah, chops down his trees. Yep. Carries a lantern all the time.
Feels his dark lantern and turning people into oil trees.
Yep. And also is a very, very good liar.
Yep.
And of course, Wirt's like, wait a minute, that sounds like the woodsman. He's a nice guy. Yeah, he actually gave us directions. And they're like, oh, but you're more lost, aren't you?
Yeah, and they also say that if you, what was it say? Like, that's after the fact about the Adelaide thing they say after the end of the song. But he says, like, yeah, they allude to the fact that don't trust him and all this other stuff. And it's like, oh, wow, has he been leading them the way? It's really, really cool.
And, of course, he's like, hey, we need, and he finally goes, hey, we need to find Adelaide. Can you guys give us directions?
Yeah.
And the apprentice is like, you don't need direction. You just follow the compass in your heart. And Wiirt's like, no, I need directions. Immediately, we hear Beatrice screaming.
Yep.
And of course, in some random bit of
courage. Yep, Wirt steals the horse and goes off into the woods.
And grabs his own little lantern with Greg. And then they go into the woods.
And they grab the horse. They go into the woods to find Beatrice.
Which, by the way, note, every single tree in these woods have faces on them.
Yep, he says, but he refers to them as Edelwood. He's like, oh, another weird-looking tree.
Yep. And then that's when he actually drops probably your first time hearing it, but this is actually the second time they drop Edelwood.
Yeah, this is the first time I hear that term. I'm like, oh, okay, how do they know what those are called? No, so I assumed it because it sounds like Adelaide. I was like, is that related to Adelaide? How do they know what those trees are?
Yeah, but the woodsman talked about it in episode 1. But anyway,
so they find the woodsman.
What are you doing here, swinging his axe?
Yeah, and then they see a knocked out Beatrice on the ground. They're like, what the heck's going on?
Yep.
He said, I told you guys not to come in the woods. And then he like grabs the kids, or not he like just shaking them.
Well, he picks up Wirt. Yeah. And he's like, what are you doing here, kind of thing. And Wirt kicks the lantern and it starts
a fire.
Yeah, the entire... Dude, we're talking the entire tree's on fire. And it, like, looks so creepy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This giant tree has, like, faces all over it and stuff. And, of course, as this is happening, the woodsman is freaking out, trying to get the lantern back up. And Wirt, Beatrice, and Greg, with the horse, just leave.
Yep.
And as they're leaving, Beatrice wakes up and she's like, huh? What's going on? And it's like, hey, we saved you from the woodsman. She's like, yeah, but weren't you supposed to get directions? Yeah, I got directions
from Frederick the horse.
Yeah, from Fred. She's like, what? Oh, by the way, Beatrice, this is Fred the horse. Yeah. And because one of the things Beatrice mentioned about the horse is, you don't talk, do you?
Yeah. He's like,
and of course, nice to horse your acquaintance, said Fred the horse. And he's like, yeah, so I asked him for directions. We know where we're going now. So they leave. And then one of my favorite scenes of all time.
We cut back to the woodsman.
With a crazy black silhouette of an antlered figure with two glowing white eyes.
Just sitting in the shadows. It taunts the
woodsman. It's like, what's this? What's this? You're kind of low on oil. You know you need this. And that's when the woodsman reveals that this is the beast.
Yep. We also find out that the woodsman had fought and won the lantern from the beast.
Yep. And, however, the reason why the woodsman is carrying this lantern and getting oil is because the beast reminds him, hey, you need oil. Because if you don't, the soul of your daughter is going to be disappearing.
Yeah, going to be extinguished, and we see inside the lantern a flame of looks
like a feminine figure.
Yep, waving around in the darkness.
And then the beast is like, "Hey, so where did those kids go?" And the woodsman's like,
"No, I won't tell you.
You're not going to." And then the beast just
flees into the woods singing.
Yep, laughing wickedly and singing. To those of you who don't know, because this is literally going to be everyone. The voice of the Beast is actually someone known as Samuel Raimi. Not to get confused with the director.
Not the other
He actually was very known for his performing of opera.
Okay.
Which explains why his voice is like so deep, so clear, and he's like so sinister. By the way, the singing and the laughing and all that stuff. Yeah. That's where the episode ends.
Yep, they end the episode there.
Oh, this was the first time seeing the Beast.
Yep,
for
it was
me.
A very, very cool intro. I was like, oh shit, what's terrifying as heck.
He is.
It's really, really cool. The voice is amazing, of course, and it's just like, yeah.
We're gonna get to it, but of all the villains I've seen, the Beast is one of my top favorites.
He's really, really cool.
Ooh,
I love him so. It was really good.
But what about everything else in the episode?
I loved it. I loved the singing. I loved the highwayman. I kept thinking, like, what's the deal with
that?
I kept thinking, well, what's the deal with that creepy weirdo? And like, I love the shot of like going around naming a bunch of people, cutting back, and then seeing him just standing so close to the person talking about it and not being addressed at all. I was just like, okay, that's really cool and creepy.
One of my favorite moments when he first says that he's the highwayman. It just zooms in and he's got like the flat like poker face looking thing with just wide eyes like kind of thing. He's like, yeah.
So weird. I love the episode. And of course, like at this point I'm being like, okay, this is like I'm about to say I have to like show my own stuff, but it feels like how I'm writing The Forgotten Minotaur King, where it's just like episodic adventures in this crazy setting of these people on this journey. It feels like a really, really cool, like, concise campaign of, like, really weird incidents they keep running into, encountering crazy, weird stories, and then continuing their journey. I love it so much. The whole setup for the show at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm really loving this. Also, they went to a tavern, they got information, it was very, like, it was very, like... game-like, it was very cool.
But yeah, so many good things. And, of course, the Canterbury tales.
Yeah, I'll check.
We'll check that eventually. But yeah, I feel like you're right on that. I feel like it is very reminiscent.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. I love really great episode.
But speaking of episode, we're about to wrap up this episode with
the final episode of this session.
Yep.
This episode.
The final episode of this episode.
Yeah, we got a lot of that into that. We were trying to figure out how to do this with the episode names and stuff. So.
Episode 5, Mad Love. Which starts off immediately at this really big looking mansion with a gate and a bunch of peacocks in front.
Yeah, 3 peacocks.
As we hear this very distinct voice. Mm-hmm. For some of you who actually do know this, it's the voice of John Cleese from Monty Python's Flying Circus.
From that one bad James Bond. He was Q, or he was not M. He was a different letter from Q.
He was one of them, yes.
He was a different letter from Q, but he was the Q in that thing. He took over from the other one.
Yes. He makes a few cameos, but everyone knows him from Monty Python. Mm-hmm. But we hear this very eccentric man just pointing out many things about wealth and his trade. The man's name is Quincy
Endicott.
Endicott.
Endicott, yeah.
Endicott.
Endicott.
Yeah, it's very strange, but he starts talking about how his trade is tea.
Health tea.
Yeah, health tea. Yep, indeed. Quincy Endicott's health tea. And of course, he and Greg are like literally the same person because he's all eccentric and excitable. And Greg's
I love my wealth and I love money, but he's very nice and funny.
Yeah, he's like, I've never, because Greg's like, wow, that tea sounds delicious, and the guy's like, never touch the stuff. I just do it for the money to quell my loneliness.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Oh, and Beatrice is like, well, it's a good thing that your nephews came to visit you.
Yeah, the episode opened like this. I was very confused at this point. I was just like,
right.
Wait.
It's like, wait, what? And then, as you know, Endicott is still talking. Wirt looks at Beatrice and goes, why are we lying about being his nephews? She's like, we need money. He's like, yeah, we need money, and I plan on stealing it from him. Wirt's like, no, you just can't steal money. She goes, what? We need to steal 2 cents. It's like, wait, what? Yeah, we need 2 We need 2 pennies to use for the ferry, to cross the ferry.
Yep, very important.
Actually, there's another reason why I did that. But anyway.
Wirt's like, oh, okay, well, that's the case.
Yeah, it's just 2 pennies, whatever. Well, it's funny, because when Wirt was against it, she's like, yeah, I mean, even Fred over here. And Fred's like, I want to steal.
Yeah, did you write Fred's voice actor?
I did not, because when I literally looked on IMDb, and there was absolutely not a lot. It was like literally a block that was really small and had nothing of value. So
okay, I think I recognize. I think he's a comedian who I've seen in some.
A comedian.
He's popped up on a couple of podcasts. Like years and years ago. I've heard of him.
Oh, do you actually got his name?
I don't have his name on me, but
that's fine.
I recognize his voice because I've heard him before.
Right, but yeah, literally, I just took a look and I'm just like, yeah, there's nothing that this guy's been in. So, but anyway, so Endicott just burst in as Beatrice is talking about stealing the money, and Endicott wants them to join him in the parlor to enjoy his unnecessary excess of wealth and luxury.
Yep. Do we get the first shot of him being like weird and nervous and dodgy at this point yet?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it is coming up though, because they go to the parlor and there's a lot of like beautiful ornate things. Like even Fred is like sitting here like, oh. And that's when Endicott, starts. This is when he starts getting all jumpy and stuff. And of course, Greg's like, "Hey, what's wrong? Why are you getting all nervous, Unky Endicott?"
Yeah.
Oh, it's just my nerves. He says.
Was it Fred Stoller?
Huh?
Fred Stoller was the name of the. I was looking
at that sounds familiar because I know Fred the horse was voiced by a guy named Fred.
Yeah,
that's all I knew.
Probably Fred Stoller. Yeah, I've seen him in a couple podcasts. He's a comedian.
Okay.
Stand up and stuff like that.
And of course, when Greg asks why is he nervous, this is when Endicott explains that as he was exploring his giant mansion, he stumbled upon a place that
a wing
that he
never
doesn't remember. Yeah, he's never seen before. He doesn't remember building, and it had like an eerie light to it and a picture of a most beautiful woman. And of course, obviously, she doesn't exist because it's his mansion. So he's like, "Yes, I'm in love with a ghost."
That's hilarious.
And because of his nervousness, he's about to send his nephews away and just like not be here. But Greg is like, "No, we need to find this ghost because I really want to see the ghost."
Yeah, I was saying like, during the whole time, Beatrice and Fred are just looking for shit to steal.
Well, and after they leave, Fred actually joins.
He joins them
Greg,
before
Greg.
they're like looking at everything. Ooh, look at that!
Ooh.
It's like picking out stuff to take for while they leave.
Yeah, and then of course Beatrice is like, "Fred, join them and distract them while Wirt and I look for money." Yep. And Fred's like, I might take a few things as I'm trotting along.
Yeah, that was a bit ridiculous.
And then immediately we get like a cut to the same room.
Yeah,
only everything's like
broken and pushed over, and it's just like Beatrice keeps pushing stuff over to. Wirt keeps trying to catch things,
but
accidentally dropping it.
Just everything just doesn't work, and they can't find 2 cents.
Yep, they are bad luck.
And immediately, as they're like trying to look for something, Beatrice notices, "Hey, you forgot the armoire," which I don't know what that is.
It's a.
Is it just like an actual big closet? Like that's an actual thing?
Yeah, it's like an actual big like closet drawer, like the big one from Beauty and the Beast that like locked the door from.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's just a big upright closet,
kind of
movable closet,
almost
drawer.
like a wardrobe, but not the same.
It's pretty much a wardrobe.
Okay. But as they were about to look into the armoire, they hear a rap tap tapping somewhere, and they're like, "Oh no, it's Endicott! Hide!" And they hide in it, but it pans over to see a white peacock just tapping on the window. Just like, "Come on."
Yeah, it's trying to get in, and then does it leave, or do they cuts to
it cuts
Greg,
back to
Greg and Quincy and Fred walking through the is it the new wing yet? They're still in the old wing.
They're like in a wing in his place with a bunch of pictures.
Yeah, and he's like, he's like nervous. He says like, "You're not nervous." Like, "No, I'm not afraid of a ghost." And then Greg's like, "Yeah, I'm not afraid of a ghost either." Like, none of them care that it's a ghost.
Well, and then he starts descending a little bit more. He's like, maybe because he's afraid.
Yep.
Not that there is a ghost, but what if there is no ghost?
Yeah, what if I'm going crazy?
and one of my favorite lines that he just offhandedly mentions after he says, "What if I'm descending into madness?" He's like, "Maybe the doctors were right." I'm like, "Excuse you?"
Yeah, that was great.
So he's like, "We're gonna go back to the parlor," but Greg's like, Fred's like, "Oh, what? There's nothing in the parlor." But Greg's like, "Hey, we gotta face this because we really gotta see this ghost.
I really gotta see this ghost." That's great.
And then of course we go back to Wirt and Beatrice in a dark closet.
Yep, are they like poking through pockets and stuff like that? And we find out that Beatrice he says like, "Oh, there could be coins inside the lining of the clothes." And like, "What? Who does that?" She's like, "I did that." Like, "You wear clothes?"
And like little bird vests.
Little bird vests. And we find out Beatrice used to be human. This is a huge thing. Does she say exactly why yet? Or?
No. She says that she was once human, and when Wirt goes to prod a little more, she's like brushes him off.
Shut up.
Yeah, pretty much. Then we go right back to Endicott and company in the greenhouse where
tea garden, right?
Well, it is a tea garden. He's growing a camellia to try out.
You say chamomile? Is that what
No.
Camellia?
It's a camellia.
Okay.
He's like, "This is where I grow the camellia to test out new teas." And of course, let's relish into the tranquility.
Yeah.
Both he and Greg at the same time just like close their eyes in silence, and then they both go. And then immediately, that white peacock just busts right into the window and scares Endicott.
Yeah, it scares them all. It's hilarious.
And Endicott's like, "It's the ghost. And Greg's like, it's just a weird looking chicken.
Yeah.
And then Endicott's just like, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I forgot to feed my peacocks because I was looking for the ghost. But maybe this is a sign that I am going mad. Maybe I do need to. And Greg's just like, no. Let's not be afraid. Let's look for that ghost.
We see Wirt again keeps asking her questions about how she was a bird, but she's ignoring him because she feels a draft coming from the other side of the armoire.
Yep, and they find a plank of wood,
yep.
and they find out that it's a secret tunnel.
Secret passage.
Oh, come on. Hey, look, this is the only time we get anything that's secret in a tunnel.
It's barely a tunnel, it's a passage, whatever.
Yeah, it is a passage, but I just wanted to do that once.
Yep. They go through and they see a weird is it a gate or like
it's like where the fireplace would be.
Yeah, but
it's like hollowed out because there's this secret room.
Yep, and this is when she finally tells Wirt keeps prodding her and she finally tells him, okay, Wirt, what happened was I threw a rock at a bluebird and it cursed my entire family to be birds, and that is why she is going to Adelaide to get the curse removed from her family. And this whole time while Wirt's prodding her, she's telling, okay, Wirt, tell me your darkest secret.
And then Wirt does.
Yep.
He's like, okay, it's my... He doesn't even have Beatrice be like, okay, I did my thing, it's your turn. No, Wirt just straight up goes, okay, now it's my turn, so.
Yep.
So, I have a crush on this girl. Uh-huh. And that's it. Wait, what? Well, I do. I have her on my mind a lot. I play clarinet, and I secretly whisper poetry to myself at night. And Beatrice is like, all of those aren't creepy. Well, the poetry one is, but no, those are all character traits.
Yeah, that was hilarious. And they continue on. We see this is when they see the wing. They finally look through the fireplace.
Yeah, they actually go through and they see the wing.
French Rococo style.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of which, that's exactly what Wirt's like. He's like, this isn't even the same as the other place.
Yeah,
because he this breaks it down architecturally.
Yeah, how it doesn't make sense.
And even Beatrice is like, who are you and what have you done with Wirt?
Yeah, that's what it is. And then he says, oh, what if it's not a ghost? And then it cuts from there as Wirt has some kind of theory, but we don't see what it is. We come back to the gang.
And we come back to a bedroom where Greg's like, it's a bedroom. And Endicott's like, no, look. And you see a portrait of this very beautiful woman.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, which, by the way, is the same portrait from the very first episode in that montage.
Yep, and the guy is Quincy.
And Quincy is the guy who was looking at it.
Yep.
So, knowing that now, he's like, oh, no, this is the ghost. And Fred sees, some things that are, tattered on the ground.
Yeah.
And he makes this wild accusation that someone did a violent thing.
Yeah, it looks like a struggle, a violent struggle, and then we see Quincy squint his eyes saying, what are you implying, horse?
And then the horse is like, nothing, Endicott went off the rails, got angry, killed someone, and he stole money and everything like that.
Yeah.
And this does not please Endicott at all.
It's hilarious. He's like, do you know what I had to do for my money with these filthy hands?
Yeah, right.
It's just
and as all this is happening, of course, Fred's like, I'll never steal again. I promise I'll never steal again. He's like, and what about you, nephew? And Greg's just like, I'm confused. And then all of a sudden, we hear something from a distance. We hear footsteps.
It's like a very ghostly sound, like, woo.
as well. And all of a sudden they look, and we see this actually beautiful woman who kind of looks the same as that picture, going, what? And she and Endicott both faint.
At the sight of each other.
And then after that, we get Wirt going, hey, Mr. Endicott, are you okay? Are you okay? And Greg wakes up the lady.
Yep.
And the lady's like, what are you doing in my house? Endicott's like, your house? What are you doing in my house? So they both go to the tea room.
Yep.
They
say, I thought you, she says, I thought you were a ghost.
I thought you were a ghost because you're in my house. And, nonsense. You're the ghost in my house. So they both go to the greenhouse. And she reveals that this is her tea garden. For Marguerite Gray Tea Company.
Yep.
And he's like, what? That's preposterous. Literally goes on the opposite side of the room and reveals that this is actually for the Quincy Bandicott.
Endicott?
Yeah, Endicott. Why did I put Bandicott?
Anyway,
probably, who knows? Probably. But anyway, the Quincy Endicott tea. Then Wirt goes, yeah, so you guys were building so huge a mansions that you actually connected to each other. So literally this is both your guys' mansion. It's just one half is one and the other half is the other. And you connected in the middle.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you weren't a ghost at all, just my business competitor.
you were just a business competitor, and then they immediately kiss.
Yeah, it was ridiculous too.
And then of course they're all happy and they start seeing the gang off. But Fred's like, yeah, I'm gonna work an honest job this time.
Yeah, buy Endicott tea.
And buy Endicott tea, yeah. And then Endicott's like, here, little Greg, since you helped us, here's a penny.
Yeah, start your own business.
Marguerite's like, and here's a penny from me too. So, hey, 2 pennies.
They finally did it.
Yep, they finally did it. And of course, Beatrice is like, hey,
Beatrice and Wirt finally.
you're actually a lot better than I thought. They kind of make up. And then Greg
walks over to a pond.
Walks over to a fountain and throws the pennies in it, where they sink, and you see a catfish eating the 2 pennies.
Yep, what the heck? Why would you do that?
I actually put this quote down.
Because
I had to. Because Wirt's like, Greg, we needed that. Why did you do that? And Greg says, and I quote, because Unky Endicott pegged me all wrong. I got no sense. No sense at all.
Yeah, what the heck was the deal with that? And then we see from the bottom of the pond, we see a giant pile of coins.
Yep, and then it fades out, and that's the end of episode 5.
And the end of this episode, too. But yeah, that was a weird, crazy ending.
Yeah, right?
Also, what does it mean with the whole, what was the deal with all the putties at the bottom of the pond? And, why did Greg do that?
Okay, so, first off, I think Greg's just a kid, so he did that.
Really, though?
But, Endicott and Marguerite were saying how he has the most sense out of everyone, and how, they helped him out.
Yeah.
So, I think it was a play on words.
I figured, obviously, it was a play on words. Yeah.
Obviously, yeah, but he not only does he not have sense, but he's just like, I got no money whatsoever, because there's start your future, and he just tosses them in a pond.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, it was random, I agree, but I guess it was one more funny moment for Greg.
Yeah. Continue my whole, I'm loving this show and the setup for everything, because, the fact that it is just, a weird, crazy adventure that they go on again where they pretend to be a guy's nephew. It was a crazy, cool ghost story that turned out to be a funny, silly reason for it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just loving every single thing about this. It's it reminds me of, Adventure Time or, Flapjack had, a continuing narrative from the beginning with the seemingly random episodes. I just love, this whole connected to it and the whole weird journey of it. It's just, I love this. It's really fantastic.
I'm glad you're enjoying this.
Oh, yeah, it's really damn good, and I'm loving it.
Yeah. But stay tuned, folks, because this is only episode 1. We still have an entire... episode 1 of the Halloween special.
I'm about to say, did we see it was a Halloween special besides my spooky mad intro?
No, I said that this is our fall/Halloween episode special.
Yeah, also we're recording this way in the middle of all the other ones, so we're probably not going to address this for several episodes of the actual podcast.
True, very true. But yeah, so this is only the first half. Stay tuned, and the other half will be coming at you.
Yep, this is wonderful, and I'm loving this show, and I'm so glad.
I'm really.
I got to show you, Cora. You got to show me this. It's very, very fun, and I'm loving it.
Hey, once again, I did this.
Yep. Host steady plug for this week.
No, I have none. Still doing a secret plan for a podcast of my own, maybe perhaps.
Yep.
But. I am still doing stuff around my apartment, settling in and stuff
I'm about to say, yeah, like I said,
I haven't heard.
This is going to be in the middle. This is after episode 6 or 7 of the normal run of the podcast, so people don't know about that stuff yet.
Oh, fair enough. You can just cut this out, right?
No, leave it. I'm saying leave it. Whatever.
But disclaimer: he never cuts any of this out.
I barely do editing.
But right now, as we're recording this, I still have no plugs. I'll probably have some in the future because in the future everything will probably pan out, and I'll actually have my own plugs. Oh, okay. But I know you have some plugs.
Of course, just like this wonderful, wonderful, crazy adventure of misfortune and traveling. The Forgotten Minotaur King podcast is a very similar feel, a little bit more darker, but still, actually pretty much equally as dark. So check out my podcast, The Forgotten Minotaur King. Also, Matthew Lewis P on Twitter, Matthew Lewis Podcasts on Patreon and YouTube. You're probably listening to us on YouTube already. But that's my stuff on my end.
Yep. And also, at least at this point of recording, I do have to do a little bit of a shout out, I guess. Okay. Just so you guys know, I've been listing off a lot of the music from the show. It's really good. if you guys ever if you guys ever have Spotify or anything like that, you can, at this point at least, find the soundtrack to this entire show on there. I've been listening to it because ever since it's fall time and everything, and it's my favorite season, and it's October, spooky month and all that stuff.
Yep.
I've been listening to it a lot, and it's perfect for this time of the year.
Oh yeah.
So if you guys ever have Spotify, or if you don't have it yet, just give that a listen to. It's perfect.
It's a great soundtrack, and I'm probably gonna pick it up myself. All right, guys.
Yep. That's it. Again, stay tuned. Episode 2 is coming your way.
Yep, of our Spooktacular Fall / Halloween special. Keep us lazy.
Smell you later.